Well, hello and welcome to Spirit in Mind, where we discuss current events with faith and mental health perspectives. I'm Bishop Guy Robinson, and what a blessing it is to be with you today for another installment of Spirit in Mind. In fact, would you let somebody know, shoot them a text, send an email, drop a phone call if you can real quick, and say, hey, tune in because it's time for Spirit in Mind live here from the City of Praise 106 Baltimore and streaming on various websites, on social media sites rather. So we look forward to our time of sharing today. We're going to get into our content in just a few moments, but first we're going to talk about the critical piece of being connected. And Spirit of Mind wouldn't be Spirit of Mind without our co-host and colleague, Dr. Jonathan Shepard. He's going to come and give greetings and share some connectivity information.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Bishop, and thank you to all our listeners out there. It is a privilege to be with you all once again on another Saturday. We have the awesome privilege to be able to bring to you material that we study, that we have prepared, and that we hope that you enjoy on a weekly basis. I tell you, Bishop, it has been remarkable the number of emails that I continue to get, and even through social media. People are hitting us up, letting us know that they are listening. And I want to put a plug in right away. We want you to please go to our Spirit in Mind Facebook page. We need more subscribers. We want to be able to broadcast directly from our StreamYard platform to that particular page, from this broadcast to that particular page. So please go there, subscribe, go there and like. And that way we'll be able to meet that quota that we need to have for that. You are doing an excellent job on our other platforms. So let's go to that platform. We want to be able to coalesce and be able to have all of our faithful listeners, our consistent listeners, even our new listeners, go to that particular page, Spirit in My Facebook page. You'll be able to see our logo there. You'll see our faces there. So you'll know you're at the right page, that you landed on the right page. So Spirit in Mind, our Facebook page, please go there now. Unless you're driving, if you're driving the car, continue to do what you're doing, of course. But as soon as you park that car, you get your device out and go to Spirit in My Facebook page. I want to just encourage everyone to continue to reach out to Bishop Seagull Robinson, who is the pastor, the great pastor of the Tabernacle Lord Church on the west side of Baltimore. He is also an author. He is also a father, grandfather. We want to make sure that you are tuning in to Bishop Seagull Robinson, who has a word in his mouth for this time, and not just for his church, but really for the world at large. And we want people to be able to know you can reach out to Bishop CGR Ministries. CGR Ministries. You can find him on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, CGR Ministries. If you go there, you will not be disappointed. So please go there and make sure that you like and subscribe to all of those areas. Then, if you're in need of direct care services, so many people are in need of direct care services. Man, I tell you, that is such a awesome task that when people come to me are in need of services who don't even live in this area, being able to connect them with services and be able to come back and say, hey, Dr. Shepard, we were able to get the services that we needed. Recently was even contacted by a family in Alabama who was in need of services for their child. Let me just say this real quickly. It is a shame when a family is scared to call the police when their child is in the middle of a mental health crisis because we're not sure what the police will do when they are called into our homes. I know I'm right on that one. It is scary to think that we are calling in for help, and then the help ends up not helping us and could even potentially take our lives, as we have seen recently in the news. And so I want people to know that when you call and you reach out to me, I may not be able to get to you right when you need it, but trust me, I'm not like God. I'm not right on time all the time. All right, I'm not going to say that, but I'm as close to being on time as possible. And so you can reach out to me, drjonathanshepard.com, drjonathanshepard.com. You can go to my website. My administrative team will be there waiting to assist and waiting to help you. You're looking for direct care services within the DMV, District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia area, I should be able to help you. But we should know that we have people such as ourselves, Bishop Robinson and I, who are definitely able to make sure that we can help you. And so thank you. I appreciate the people who are out there listening and letting me know that they hear a little bit of echo. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so appreciative to Pastor C. Ivan Johnson, who's out there, Minister Donna, Sarita Watson, who we just saw last week in Pennsylvania. So, yes, Bishop, that is all I have for now.
This is good, and certainly we appreciate the connection. We appreciate you joining us. And for helping us to move spirit and mind forward. As Dr. Shepard just alluded to, you need to have mental health and psycho-spiritual care, really, because the need for spiritual care is high as well. And so that's why we're here, to raise awareness to those issues and hopefully give us more awareness that we can pursue some things. So we've been talking about transitioning. We've been talking about living with the transitions of life. Again, I've been quoting the hymn that says, time is filled with swift transition. Time is filled with all kinds of gradual transitions and unexpected transitions. Change happens in life. The key question to follow up on that is, how are you coping? How are you handling? How are you managing amid all of the changes in life? And so we've used some current affairs. We've talked about actually the bridge repair that is still happening in this area. That was top attention news some time ago. But as we know, the traumatic experience can continue after the traumatic effect. We've talked about some other things as examples of transition. We've witnessed transition in our presidential campaign process. Time is filled with swift transitions. Announcement comes and everything shifts. And so, how are you handling those? And so, Dr. Shepard is going to initiate our content for today. And we look forward to hearing from you, of course, in the chat line. If you're watching us on our streaming platforms, we welcome your insight and questions in the chat line as we discuss coping with and living in new places and transitions and dealing with transitions and soul care in the midst of transitions. We also welcome you to call us at 443-380-2803. And thank you in advance for connecting with us and communicating. Dr. Shepard?
Absolutely. And so thank you, Bishop. And we just want to let people know that, again, we're thankful for your continued support of this program. And we also want to make sure that you are continuing to support the book, Care Birthright, which was authored and penned by Bishop C. Robinson. We want you to get the book. I was with Bishop at a recent event where he sold all the copies of the book. I think he had some 20-some plus copies. You got to go to Amazon and get those copies, get multiple copies if necessary, as I distributed to people who I wanted to make sure that they are up to date on the latest information when it comes to being able to provide trauma-informed care for our religious leaders, and not just for them, but for the congregants. You got to get this book, you really do. And today's topic is really going to relate to some of the things that we have been discussing in this book, or that I've been reading, I should say, this book, using it for a platform, a springboard, if you would, for our discussion today. And again, we've been talking about transitions, about living in a new place. And I want Bishop to really help us today in understanding why we need to have trauma-informed ministry. Why do we need trauma-informed ministry? When we look at what happens in our lives, all of us have been affected by trauma. And Bishop outlines very clearly in the book, and research will also back it up. And we've talked about, it's been a while since we emphasize it like this, but when you think about the three most common tragedies or the three most common traumas that people face, One of them is loss or grief, loss of a loved one or grief. Number two, betrayal, betrayal by a person who we love. And then number three is a form of abuse, whether it be physical or sexual assault. Those are the top three traumas that people will encounter. Now, how does this relate to transition? Many times, as we are transitioning, we're transitioning coming out from a trauma, to be honest with you. That's not always the case. I don't want to make it sound like that's always what's happening. But many times we're making transitions, it's because of a particular event or experience that we have had. And so many of us have had negative experiences, even this year in 2024. And so we find ourselves living in the new place. And I want us to talk about the need for trauma informed care, trauma informed ministry, if you would, because as you deal with the trauma, there is a residue that is left afterwards. There is residue. If I was in a larger audience and had people there, I would have them repeat after me that there is residue. Uh, Very seldomly, if ever, do you come through an experience unscathed. I don't know, Bishop. I'm still waiting to have that. I'm still waiting for that to happen for me, where I come through an experience. I might come through most of get and get by, but very rarely do I ever have an experience where I am unscathed. And I think some of you all out there would agree with me on that one. And the thing is, you can have an experience years ago. You can have experienced something back in your childhood. You can have experienced something back in your teenage years or adolescent years, or in your early 20s, depending on your age level. And that thing will still affect you to this day. I can remember very clearly uh, my high school reunion just happened last week. I was unable to go to it, but it was a number of years ago. Even as I saw the people who were there and present, it brought back some memories. Some of them mostly good. Some of them were like, wow, I remember what this person used to do and what they used to say about me. Isn't that something? That it could be that length of time, 20 some plus years, and yet it's still there and will affect you. Isn't that something that's what I'm talking about, the residue. So when you find yourself living in a new place and you say, well, everything is new, everything's brand new. I'm just brand new. And yet you have not taken care of that residue. You find yourself going back and repeating a lot of the old habits, if you would, or behaviors that could be positive or could be negative affecting you. So I want to start there, Bishop, again, emphasizing the need for trauma informed ministry.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it is essential. Dr. Shepherd, you had so many great uh, um, points from which to jump off there as we're talking about what is the importance of trauma informed care. I would suggest for consideration and discussion that our present society, even our world, if you will, is in essence unconsciously crying out for a trauma informed care perspective.
Wow.
You mentioned just a few moments ago that you talk to persons in your provision of services that deal with being at that crisis of, shall I call the police?
Right.
Because this is a mental health concern, but it could very well, go awry, or end up tragic. And that goes to what we discussed in the previous Spirit and Mind broadcast, the different frameworks for how we deal with crises. So what we're saying in that situation is, please hear me clearly. God bless our law enforcement officers. God bless them. But that view that they only have that framework. If you only have that framework of law enforcement, then it is the legal model that we talked about before. And then what it's saying is, do you have other tools in your toolkit for this situation? It's a cry for someone with a traumatological worldview that has a trauma informed care perspective. in our churches, as you just pointed out, that the top forms of abuse, and they're just the top ones, according to some research conducted by the Barnum Agency and some other think tanks: abuse, betrayal, and bereavement. All of those are relational. We lost someone, someone mishandled us. We feel abuse is the abnormal use of someone or something. Someone used me outside of my purpose physically or in words, or with physical abuse and betrayal. And so all of these are forms of trauma. And I want to highlight what you said. That was a powerful thing about the residue
Yes, sir.
of drama.
Yes, sir.
So even after the event is over, it has a way of, if it is without intervention, it can negatively affect our worldview. It can give us. Albert Einstein once credited with saying everything hinges on whether we believe the world or the universe in which we live is hostile or friendly towards us. And so that's a worldview. And so traumatological experiences or trauma experiences can influence our worldview so that we begin to see our world is untrustworthy. The people in our world are untrustworthy. And and here it goes again. It's happening again. And then not only does that become our worldview, but we share that worldview in the form of generational or shared trauma. There's some studies that have been shown. The particular study that's coming to mind was actually done with survivors of Holocaust experience. So it can happen to anybody that's been through trauma experiences. But the particular study was done with that, and the study was done over generations, where if that's my worldview, I'm not trying to contaminate my children, if you will. I'm actually trying to help them, but the help that I'm offering is based off of a skewed worldview.
Wow.
So I began to teach them that people can't be trusted, or whatever the situation was that's unresolved. Institutions can't be trusted. Men can't be trusted. Women can't be trusted. My peers can't be trusted. I began to share that because that's my worldview. I'm thinking that I'm helping my children and others under my influence to survive, but I'm really sharing my trauma in a world that may not be the same world.
Wow.
And so that's why it's so important that we address and discuss these issues. I have a bad experience at church. Since we talk spirit of mind, I can come up with a theme that church hurts. Um, and then I share that, and I share that with another generation, and I'm thinking that I'm helping them to avoid hurt, but I'm actually giving them a skewed or a jaded worldview of an institution that really is the bride of Christ. And so that doesn't mean that there aren't issues that need to be addressed, but there's a difference between saying church has some imperfections and saying that that need to be worked on. We know that because Jesus is returning for a church without spot or wrinkle, so we're not spotless or wrinkle free yet. But it's important that we deal with the residue so we don't share a jaded worldview that ultimately hurts persons more. Because, again, in that example, church involvement statistically shows that it does more to provide healthy coping skills than it does the negative. And so the long run is that we have to deal with that. I'll close with this. And sometimes we don't know that we have that residue on us. Sometimes we don't know that we don't have. But listen, here's my analogy that came to mind when you were talking. I'm a terrible painter. I usually, when it comes time to do that, I gotta save my coins and hire somebody to paint the building, my house. Because if I do it, even after I've finished painting, you're gonna be able to tell because I got all of this residue left on me from the scraping and the dust, and then the drippings of the paint. And sometimes I don't even know that I got it on me, but I'm carrying it around. And sometimes just because you carrying it well or seem to be carrying it well doesn't mean it ain't on. I got to stop right there. So that's why to answer your question, Dr. Shepherd, that's why having a trauma informed approach is so very important.
Yes, sir. And thank you for the analogy. I think of also the little kid that gets caught with their hand in a cookie jar. They're trying to eat sugar cookies or some powdered donuts or something like that. So as they are eating the donuts, you get all this white stuff around their mouth, just powdered donuts, just eating them. And you all know what I'm referring to. You can get into your head right now the visual that I'm trying to paint right now. The little child eating the powder covered donuts that we all used to like to eat, like six or so in a row or something like that. And then your parent comes and says, "Have you been eating those powdered donuts?" And you say no, but yet all the white stuff is around is around your mouth. Now, how do you is that something how we don't even realize that others can see all the white stuff all around our mouth, and yet we're saying no, it's not a problem. That in itself is a problem. And let me tell you, we want to make sure. There's two things that came to mind, Bishop, as you were talking. That visual image came to my mind, but also the definition of residue came. I went to look it up. This is a small amount of something that remains after the main part has gone or been taken or used. That's powerful. It's a substance that remains after a process such as combustion or evaporation. So you must know that there will be something left after you've gone through the transition process, after you've gone through the process of getting help, after you've gone through the healing process, after you've gone through the transformation process. Yes, I know some people say, well, then something must be wrong. No, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong at all. That and we must bust up that myth. Nothing's wrong. There must be a transformation. And many times in processes, it takes time. And this is one of the things that we struggle with in therapy. We struggle with in mental services. If people do not give enough time to get rid of the residue so that we can live a better life. It's one thing when people come into my office and Dr. Shepherd, I'm suicidal. Dr. Shepherd, I don't feel like living anymore. Dr. Shepherd, I'm very anxious. I don't understand what's going on. I am disorganized in my thoughts. And we're able to provide some type of care, some type of treatment option for them. But when it comes back to seeing them, many times a month or 2 months later, oh, I feel much better now. I don't need any more help. Well, are you sure about that? You know, we want to make sure it takes time for the brain to heal. Just like it takes time for any bone or any vessel in your body to heal, the brain takes time to heal. And I've been really emphasizing that with my patients lately because some of them, well, how come I'm not better? I'm taking the medication like you told me. It's been 4 weeks and I should be over this by now. How are you going to be over something that you've been dealing with 40 years in 4 weeks? That doesn't make sense. And so we have to make sure that we take the time to allow the healing to take place. Once you get to the transition, once you get to that special place of where you can know you can settle in, allow the ministering angels. I'm a bishop to talk about that too again, because I reread that part, Bishop, but I never really thought about it like the way in which you presented it. The ministering angels and how they came to Jesus after he went through that traumatic experience in the wilderness, and how we as people of within my profession, we can serve as those ministering agents or angels. We may not be an angel, but we serve as ministering agents to make sure that people are getting the care that they need. I'm gonna stop there.
This is so important because that's the process. Um, Several things I wanted to point out in our last 2-3 minutes, but
Yeah, one time. We need one time.
one is we're distinguishing between residue and healthy integration, and that's why you have to do that because some experiences do profoundly transform us. But for that transformation to be healthy, then that transformation has to go through a process. And part of the psycho-spiritual process, both in pastoral care and in psychotherapeutic counseling, is to help to integrate the helpful parts towards post-traumatic growth and to really mitigate yeah, escape with the alliteration, uh, is to mitigate the problematic symptoms, the residue, if you will. That's the difference. It's the difference between, residue is a stain that's on me that I may not know is there. That, people say, hey, but integration is when, I take the good and the bad experiences and I create them to create congruence. That this is who I am, and all of it is worked together to make me better. And so, but we need help to go through that.
Yes, sir.
And that takes a process. And in this sense, this is another thing that the psychotherapeutic and pastoral care disciplines have in common, is that people don't stay in the process.
Yes, sir.
So some studies show, and I double checked it, some studies show that up to at least 20% or more of clients don't return after the first session. And up to 37 to 45% don't come back after the second session. I got the data right here. So, which means they don't stay in the process, because when it begins to deal with the issues, people become treatment resistant.
Right.
And I want to suggest that the same thing happens in pastoral care, where we really start, but you can't heal without eventually touching where it hurts. And so whenever we deal with us, because it's human nature, we become prone to abandoning the process too soon. But it's so important that we do that to work through those critical issues. Listen, Dr. Shepard is going to have some words with us, and then we're going to sign off really for the day. But Dr. Shepard.
Yeah, got to get the book. You see, we are going to dive into the book, and you see how this book is so apropos to what we're talking about. We're transitions, we're living in a new place, we're pulling out the different chapters. We need you to get the book. We're dealing with chapters 6, 7, and 8 right now. I'll continue to share with you some more things as I continue to read. But make sure that you're getting this knowledge that we're sharing with you on here. Let me tell you, folks are paying hundreds of dollars. Now we're not giving out care now. We're going around saying they treated me on Spirit of Mind. That is not what we are doing. Hello. But we're setting you up so you can get the right care. And we want to make sure you're properly informed. Thank you, Bishop.
Absolutely. Listen, again, thank you for your support of the Soul Care Birthright. It's available on Amazon. As soon as we sign off, you should get it if you don't have it yet. If you prefer the digital version, it's available in digital formats as well. So you can upload it right on your iPad, right on your smartphone. And we look forward to you joining us. We continue this conversation about caring for the soul and the importance of trauma-informed approaches to ministry, to life, really. And so, listen, by the grace of God, we want you to let someone know that we'll be right here the next time on Spirit in Mind.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Spirit in Mind, and we're also on Instagram at Spirit in Mind Live. Join us next time for a new episode of Spirit in Mind.
This program is brought to you by Spirit in Mind, LLC.